What is up, everybody? Welcome in. DFSarmy MLB pre-lock show for Monday, the 27th of July. Razzle and Tattoo here. 7-game slate on DK and an 11-game slate on
11.
FanDuel.
Yeah.
They decided to include the 5:40 Central Time games, which I don't. Whatever. Like I think it really only brings into play two pitchers, really, maybe three, but Zach Wheeler and then
Bradish, I think.
Bradish and Montero. So I think you just have to use pitching against Baltimore.
Yeah.
So, because you're not using Scherzer at all, that's for sure.
That's for sure, sir.
And you're not using Merrill Kelly or Mitch Keller. So, but yeah, it is Monday. Some wild storms hitting us here in Wisconsin. Tornado, hail, all sorts of stuff going on. How's your Monday going so far?
Oh, not too bad. That storms, it reminded me, we had some crazy ones last night, and I'll send you some pictures. I got like some crazy lightning flashes and stuff on camera. And for the first time in my life that I know of, I was standing outside and I was looking down and I saw a small frog, and I was just watching him for a second, and he moved a little bit, and then I heard this screech, and he jumped about a foot or so, and I guess like grabbed whatever he was hunting. And I was like, I have never witnessed that.
Man. Yeah, it's rough here. There's a bunch of people, like I'm getting notifications on Facebook about people just being marked safe from the tornado, but it's absolutely destroyed the area. And I mean, luckily for me, I kind of live in a section of Oshkosh where there's a gigantic lake, so storms generally split to go around the lake. So I mean, just a few miles north of me is where everything got really bad. There's 5-inch diameter hail, tornado. I just see some people are going on 4 hours now without power, even though no damage to their house or anything. So yeah, it's been an interesting Monday, that's for sure.
Yeah, at first I thought you were just saying there was like warnings. I didn't know like it actually happened
I mean,
or it's happening.
it happened a couple hours ago now, but yeah, all we got were, I mean, the notifications on my phone for alerts were just like 3-inch diameter hail, and that was it. But then all of a sudden, tornado sirens hit, and then tornado pretty much wiped out a big stretch of communities. So I don't know, like it's one of those days. Didn't know if I was going to be able to make it on the show or not. Storm didn't really hit Oshkosh enough, but yet a couple people I know in Oshkosh lost power for a little bit too. So there's many tens of thousands of people without power just 15 miles away from me. But yeah, I like turtles. But yeah, anyways, we have baseball to worry about tonight. Uh, Speaking of baseball and weather, it looks like there was an update to, is it Cincinnati? I have to look at our weather guy. Yeah, Cincinnati's a delay risk with a low end PPD chance, which obviously matters because the DK slate, the best pitcher available, is pitching in that game. I do live for another day, at least one more day. Um, Hopefully a little bit longer than that. But aside from Cincinnati, don't have anything weather related to worry about from a pitching standpoint. We do have just questions amongst pitchers, especially on DK. Thankfully, on FanDuel, you get to use Zach Wheeler against the struggling Miami Marlins, who have lost 12 straight. And Tattoo, did you know that the Miami Marlins AAA affiliate has also lost 12 straight games?
I did not know that.
So, yeah, there are a lot of losses going on with the Miami Marlins right now. It's not often that I say pitching is better on FanDuel, but pitching is better on FanDuel tonight. As you see, like Tetsuya Imai is nearly 30% on DK. Peyton Tolley pitching in Sacramento is 27%. Like, we just don't have options.
Yeah, they're under 10% on FanDuel.
Yeah, they're forcefully super popular on DK. And we get a game in San Francisco, which I obviously love, minus the fact that it's Brandon Sproat and Tyler Mahle. Like, it's not exactly a combination I really want to invest in. And I'm sure on FanDuel, you probably don't even have to consider them very much.
No. I was just Wheeler, Burns, Freed, Bradish are 61% of the ownership. And then if you took Tolley and Armani, you'd be up to in the 85% of all the pitchers,
Yeah,
anybody under Armani is under 4% owned.
I just think on FanDuel, you don't have to be creative at all. Like I say it in my pitcher video every day, and this is like the prime example of a slate on FanDuel where you don't have to try to be creative. Brendan, I think the Reds game's going to play, but with the latest update, I kind of want to see some more timing over the next hour to get a better understanding of when and where things are hitting in Cincinnati. So if somehow that weather deteriorates massively, and we really lose the ability to use Chase Burns, the DK slate is just disgusting. We do get Max Fried, who is not priced correctly yet, so that's always nice. But then, do I really want to use Tetsuya Imai? Do I want to use Tolley? Do I need to rely on Brandon Sproat? Zach Thornton might be my third favorite pitcher.
Yeah. I was going to say, and Fried on FanDuel is in the 10K.
Yeah, so he's correctly priced on FanDuel.
I believe he's the third highest. Yeah.
Yeah, he should be the third highest, right? After Wheeler and Burns.
Yeah. Oh, he's actually $200 cheaper than Peyton Tolley.
Tolley? Well, I'm going to guess on FanDuel you don't necessarily need to use Peyton Tolley then in Sacramento. I'm going to use him on DK because there are strikeouts, especially with the A's not having Shea. But if there were better options, I just don't think I'd use much Tolley. But unfortunately, we don't have those. We've had some really good pitching slates recently over the last handful of days, but then this just goes back to remind me what things were like. I think it was early last week when we just had a couple slates that were just atrocious from a pitching standpoint. So this kind of feels like one of those to me.
Especially on DK. Yeah.
Yeah. So like two guys that I am going to consider using on DK that you probably shouldn't use on FanDuel would be Walbert Urania, who's had some success against Houston a little bit, and then Matthew Liberatore, who's had a strong start against the Cubs at some point this year. Even though the Cubs are fairly chalky, the last time I looked at the leverage ownership percentage, I don't really love Liberatore, but I think there's a decent route where he can match like Sproat in San Francisco. So I think I'm just using him. Do you have any other thoughts on any other pitchers? Like, I mean, you can talk a little bit about FanDuel because I don't have FanDuel up on the screen right now, so I'm only showing the DK percentages. But I mean, to me, it's Zach Wheeler for sure.
Yeah, it's Zach Wheeler. You know, Burns is right there, but you got the weather concern, so it kind of puts you back to Wheeler. Freed looked, well, I don't know if that's the early slate or the main slate, or, you know, if that's both slates. But he's looked better, but, you know, yesterday I had the White Sox as my tier 1 stack. And about an hour before the slate, I was like, I can't do it. And I moved him down. All that to say, you know, the White Sox just keep hitting home runs. And so that makes me like Freed less. I like Zach Thornton. I mean, but the Braves don't strike out. And then you got Bradish, which pretty much all that leads me back to Zach Wheeler.
The big thing for Thornton is he's not a big K guy anyway, so he doesn't necessarily need to get there with strikeouts. Yeah. It's just the fact that the Braves have underperformed against left-handed pitching that I really like it. And yeah, I was going to mention this too. Like, Freed just doesn't give up home runs. That's the big thing. So, I mean, DK wise, I still think Burns should be the highest owned. But I mean, Freed is right now. Apparently, Cincinnati just got placed under a severe thunderstorm watch from now until midnight. So it is something we're going to want to pay attention to. I'm going to see if I can find any other updates from other places. I see some places that are worried a little bit about the Yankees, White Sox as well. You know, that becomes a huge issue, right? Like if we have issues with that game and Cincinnati, you lose Burns and Freed on DraftKings, like then your night's pretty gross.
God, that would almost make Thornton a lock.
Yeah, so Cincinnati, from what I'm reading, has some different thoughts. Like some models are showing heavy rain, and then others are showing very low rain chances. So like there's conflicting numbers with that game. The biggest thing for Chicago is the rain today. From what I'm seeing timing wise, by the time game starts, like the rain should be done. It's just how much of the field is destroyed from getting absolutely pounded all afternoon. So that's obviously something we're going to need to pay attention to. I would guess that if the White Sox game was going to play, we kind of would know ahead of game time, right? Like since it's supposed to be happening today. They can make a determination a little bit earlier. It's the Cincinnati game that becomes obviously questionable. We really need to see timing for some of it and figure out which model is going to be most accurate. So that means over the next hour and a half, we're going to need to pay attention to updates. Hour and a half, the FanDuel slate would have started. So really the next hour to get an idea.
We got to pretend this is NBA.
Yeah, right?
Who's going to break a fingernail and be out?
There is some potential rain coming in St. Louis, but it's nothing to worry about from my understanding. So, that the weather makes it very interesting and painful at the same time.
Yeah.
That's 71% of the field if we lose both Fried and Burns. 71% ownership between those two pitchers. I would guess that in my builds, that's 85% of my pitching pool.
Another funny thing we were talking about, you said, the better pitching is on FanDuel. I think the best offenses are on FanDuel games too.
Yeah, I mean, you have the Nationals, the Phillies, and then the Pittsburgh and Arizona game.
Yeah.
The DK slate, like you get the Reds at home if that game plays in that ballpark,
and
then
you
get Sacramento. But then you have San Francisco, you have LA, you have St. Louis, all places that aren't really known for offenses. So basically the FanDuel slate's better than the DK slate.
Yeah, and that was all taken into consideration if you did lose the Reds and the White Sox game.
Right.
That would really kill the offense too. That would make me like the Angels with my man's Amani, like to give up. Well, he likes to walk a lot and give up home runs. So he's probably not giving up just solo shots.
Yeah, those walks into home runs really drive me nuts. Shout out to Ronel Blanco for that. Who doesn't necessarily give up hits, but it's all of a sudden if he walks a guy, it's almost a guarantee one of the next two hitters is going to hit a home run at this point. But yeah, it's just gross, and like we're not going to be live when like we get updates from those, most likely. So if you lose Fried and Burns for DK, I'm going to let offenses kind of control my runs and hope that I just end up with not negatives from my pitchers.
Yeah.
It might be where you just hope you get 25 points combined between your two pitchers if we were to lose, both those games. Obviously, if FanDuel, you just play Zach Wheeler, Bradish. I do think you play Montero. I think there's enough K upside. Montero becomes even more in play if you were to lose Fried and Burns. You just need a couple more pitchers to use just to be a little bit different. But obviously, the Wheeler ownership on FanDuel would skyrocket. I mean, I get it. He's got to be the most expensive, right? He's more expensive than Burns is on FanDuel.
Yeah.
But his ownership would still skyrocket if you lost those two guys.
I think it was Wheeler, Burns, Tole, and Fried.
I don't really have a whole lot else to say about pitching, just because it's annoying. um, especially with weather. Uh, but we're also like we switch over to offenses. It's going to be somewhat annoying on DK because we've already pointed out FanDuel offensive slate is much better.
Yeah.
But I mean, we might as well switch over to offenses at this point. Uh, I will bring up the FanDuel leverage stacks. I haven't looked at it at all. Uh, man, ownership is weird. Even with those, like Pitt's barely owned, 20% seems rather low for a Merrill Kelly faced team. Boston is just through the roof owned.
Yeah.
Washington, yeah, they should be the second highest. Arizona's up there. I would prefer to stack Pittsburgh than Arizona. I don't know how you feel about that, but
Yeah, I think I would too.
stacking Arizona just hasn't felt very good. You notice down here in Pitt, like they are pretty pretty expensive, right?
Yeah.
On FanDuel, but also fifth best IRT on the slate, the best batter Woba, second best pitcher Woba to attack, second best leverage ranked, and yet they're I don't know eighth lowest in total ownership. Um, like that's kind of where I would try to plant some flags over on FanDuel. I think um, certainly much more than Toronto. Like Toronto's just been bad offensively, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I love Philly.
Philly's interesting.
I put Brandon Martian as my dinger of the day earlier, and I stand by that. But I ended up changing it. Just I didn't, he was like plus 800, but I stand by that. I mean, I wore his hair. Is how confident I am.
I mean, it's tough to have somebody like him as a dinger call in Miami.
Yeah, I just got a feeling.
But
Yeah, that is not financial advice.
I am one to where I'm not as high on the Cubs as it seems like the field is.
I like St. Louis better.
Yeah, I think I like St. Louis against Peterson. They've lit him up already. I think I have to go back and look, but I think he's put up like negative 20 fantasy points over two starts against or two appearances against St. Louis. But now I have to look again just to make sure.
I
But it
know
felt like
Jordan Walker is 3 for 6 with a home run against him.
yeah, Peterson has thrown 7 1/3 innings in two appearances against St. Louis this season. And in those 7 1/3 innings, he has negative 20 DK points and 16 earned runs allowed, 21 base runners. So it's a whip of nearly three against St. Louis this season. So yeah, I much prefer St. Louis to Chicago. Um, Another team that I am sneakily interested in, I just wish the game was not in LA. I wish it was in Houston. Is Houston, even though I am playing a little bit of Urania, I, that top part of the Houston lineup's been rolling. I mean, Pena and
Yeah.
Alvarez together with Paredes, especially Pena and Alvarez, they've been on fire. So, and then Christian Walker has some BVP against Urania as well. I think that top part of the Houston lineup is very, very interesting for GPP purposes. So that's another team that I have rated much higher than what the field is looking to be on. Um, what are you doing with a team like San Francisco?
Let me go back. I think on FanDuel, I just had no reason to really fart with them, even though I liked a couple guys, or at least Devers. Um, but yeah, it's just so many offenses I like far better on FanDuel. They didn't make the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Top 8 I listed.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Like, they're such a tough team to do something with.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is like Sproat just allows a bunch of base runners. So like that's kind of important for us on this slate. Um, Also, the Giants are middle of the pack in baseball in OPS, right? So even though they don't score a lot of runs, they're bottom 5 in runs scored. They're middle of the pack in OPS. They're 4th in doubles. They're 3rd in triples. Like they do some things that can rack up fantasy points. It's
Yeah.
just
And
that
I was
runs
going
RBI thing that
to, another guy I like on San Francisco, if you just wanted to 2-man or whatever, is Yo Hung Lee, who's been hot lately.
well, unfortunately for you, is their
Oh,
lineup
no.
literally just popped and he's not in the lineup.
Well, I don't like Yo Hung Lee. Go back to the KBO.
Right? Um, yeah, the problem with the Giants is the overall lineup looks not enticing. Um,
So, like I was
you know,
saying before, I don't like San Francisco at all.
Drew Gilbert's hitting 6th, Adamas is hitting 7th, Grant McCrae's hitting 8th, and then Jesus Rodriguez catching and hitting 9th. Uh, and it hurts us because you have to choose between Devers and Eldridge on DK. You can play them both on FanDuel, but on DK you have to choose between the two, and they're hitting 3-4. So like that's kind of annoying. But in that same game, I want to talk about the Milwaukee Brewers as well. Now, obviously, Milwaukee is a team that I normally don't love stacking just because I don't that they're tied for last in home runs, right? Like that's an issue from a DFS standpoint,
Yeah.
But they're also like they're 5th in total runs scored, so they lead baseball in doubles. They are 4th in stolen bases. Um, I actually think that their lineup fits this ballpark because of their gap hitting. The doubles. I mean, they lead baseball in doubles. So that provides some triples upside too. They're 9th in triples, so it's not like they don't pick up triples. I just think there's some offensive upside for this particular team in this ballpark because they score all those runs and they don't need home runs to do it, which is the biggest thing in this ballpark where majority of baseball, like they need home runs to score a bunch of runs in this day and age. That's not the Milwaukee Brewers. So they're in a ballpark where they can be themselves to a degree. So I'm a bit higher on Milwaukee than I normally am.
You just want an excuse to play Joey Ortiz.
I would prefer to not play Jory Ortiz, but he is on my sheet.
You gotta be.
I mean, I want an excuse to play Luis Lara, but I don't know if he's going to be in the lineup. That's my worry. See if their
I
lineup.
played him last night. He didn't.
Yeah, I don't see their lineup out yet, but Cooper Pratt's been good too. That was just brought up here in the chat as well. Bryce Harang looks like he's heating up a little bit more, and he's generally a gap to gap guy. So his swing probably fits into this ballpark with all that room in left center and right center. Um, don't really find me playing Christian Yelich much ever anymore. So probably pass on him a little bit, but obviously prefer the left-handed bats in this ballpark. Um, any other team that kind of stands out for you, especially on the FanDuel slate?
I gotta make sure which slate is what. The Nats were my number one stack. Then I had Arizona. I did have Toronto in there. Philly, really like St. Louis. My brain is so confused going back and forth between the slates and what games were what.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Nets are by far and away, which they'll get shut out today.
Playing the blue or skipping, fading the Blue Jays hasn't burned me in a long time at this point. So like I would just continue to do that. It's just a bad offense, right?
Yeah. But I think on FanDuel you get Washington you can use at half of Boston's ownership, and you can still use some Boston bats.
Right. So Washington leads all of baseball in runs scored by 30 plus. Like they're 31 runs ahead of Pittsburgh. Washington is fifth in doubles, third in triples, first in home runs, first in stolen bases. Like if you haven't been using Washington, like
You haven't made
money.
Money as you could have.
Right. They lead baseball in OPS. They're ahead of the Dodgers and the Pirates. They're middle of the pack in strikeouts. So it's not like everybody in that lineup is just striking out. It's Wood. Like he strikes when he's struggling, he strikes out a ton. But aside from that, they're just not striking out. Now, obviously, like I think Brady House probably adds a few more strikeouts to their lineup now that they traded Curtis Mead. But yeah, it's just Washington has become that offense that you just stack on every slate.
They're like their team is a core slate, just wherever it goes.
Right.
Like they have to be on your radar.
Yeah, 100% have to be. What are you doing with like the Yankees tonight?
I did have them up there. I believe they're like my third favorite stack. But I guess now we have to wait and see.
Yeah, weather. I mean, even without weather, like I don't know what to do with them. Like I don't like them facing left-handed pitching because like all you have is like Goldschmidt and maybe a little bit of Ben
Right.
Rice, but they play the same position on DK.
Yeah.
And then you have like Ahmad Rosario hitting third, right? That doesn't sound good at all. You have Volpe hitting fifth, who Volpe was fine last night against Christopher Sanchez. But like that lineup just looks so gross against left-handed pitching, especially now that Bellinger's on the IL as well. But at the same point, like Noah Schultz isn't really striking dudes out, walking people. Like there should be upside for some guys, but is that a team that you maybe just mini stack?
Yeah. I over there, I'm looking like almost all my 4-man stacks are going to be Boston or Washington.
I kind of like the Mets tonight. Yeah, I'm not necessarily in a hurry to stack against Martin Perez overall. And the overall Mets like batter Woba is what, the worst on the slate? Yeah. But there's a couple guys that have hit Perez pretty well, and like just a couple guys that I think are in good spots. Like, ooh, 2 injury updates just popped as I was talking. Cody Bellinger's out 4 to 6 weeks.
Ooh.
And then Shea Langeliers did have knee surgery and is going to miss the rest of the season.
Oh.
But Luis Robert probably, like, talking about him getting traded, but has homered a couple times this week already in his return. So, and he's always somebody I've liked against left-handed pitching. Tyrone Taylor is another guy that's been hitting left-handed pitching really well that they're talking about trading as well. And then Bichette's hit Perez well. Marcus Simeon's hit him decently, and Lindor's been all right recently. Francisco Alvarez feels like a guy that homers tonight. Like, that's a gut feeling a little bit. But the catcher position is super weak on this slate, at least on the the DK side of things. The highest owned catcher is going to be Connor Wong, and then Carson Kelly, Ivan Herrera. Like, there's just a spot for catchers, and it looks like Alvarez has the best or the lowest odds to hit a home run for catchers on the DK slate.
Yeah, and Lindor is 10 for 22 versus Perez.
Yeah, so I think the Mets, even though they've been such a dumpster fire, I just think it's a team that we can utilize for GPP upside that obviously nobody's really going to, or at least that's what it appears to me. Any other offenses that we haven't talked about that kind of pop to your mind right now that you have a little bit of interest in or anything?
The Angels, Houston.
Yeah, Houston's definitely that one for me. And I think you have to use the Angels because, like I pointed out in my pitcher video with MI, like 3 of the last 5 starts he's been absolutely elite, like 28 plus DK points. But then like 3 out of his last 6 starts he's been absolutely atrocious. Like, it's been one extreme or the other. So I feel like you just have to stack that offense just in case you get the atrocious version.
I feel like if they are actually the lowest owned of all the teams, I want some White Sox.
I just don't think I can get on board on the White Sox.
Home runs.
Yeah, they're just taking on a pitcher that doesn't give up home runs. Like, that's the big thing. So it's really tough. Like, I think on most slates you can play the White Sox and have a reason to do it. I just feel like this is probably one of them where I'm putting them in the category with Toronto on the FanDuel slate where I just don't really want to utilize them a whole lot. Unless I might increase my exposure to them in the mini stack side just to try to get them. I actually lowered it I don't know if you can see my settings on the screen right here. I have 4% across the board for most teams. I lowered the White Sox to 2% minimum because I'm fairly certain. I guess I do have the White Sox in my pool for main stack ahead of San Francisco and ahead of Cleveland. But that's also because I stacked 12 teams and there's only 14 teams to choose from. And I'm just not stacking Cleveland against Burns. Not something I'm going to do. But anyways, get all sorts of trade updates. Teams looking for whatever. No trades made, but talking about the Yankees looking for a catcher, but they're not looking for top tier catcher because they still believe in Austin Wells, which at this point they shouldn't. But yeah, you want to go position by position now and then give your dongs out and then see if any other questions pop. Metro said Taylor, Robertson, Alvarez is his FanDuel Wheeler lineups. That's really, I like those three. I would then sprinkle in Bichette or Lindor, just make it a 4-man. But depending on what your 4-man is, right? Like I haven't looked at FanDuel, but I know those guys have to be fairly cheap on FanDuel for Mets stacks. So you probably have money to go to, I don't know, anybody really.
Are we going by DK?
You can give your FanDuel ones if you want. Like I'll go by DK since that's what I'm focused in, but if you have some FanDuel plays that stand out too, you can include them.
I think my favorite catcher is going to be Dylan Dingler. My favorite first baseman, is Luis Garcia Jr. If I went to the main slate, it's actually Murakami. Second base, it's Terang, but I also like Heyo Lee. Third, it's so many White Sox on my list. Third base, it's Alec Baum. Shortstop is C.J. Abrams. Outfield, Jordan. I like Jordan Walker tonight. Dylan Cruz. Brandon Marsh. And Colton Cowser. See, I was like, I'm so high on those first few games.
Colton Cowser is a bit of a surprise there because when's the last time he got a hit? For all I know,
it's based on he's 4 for 5 with 2 home runs versus Montero.
Oh well, I guess that comes into play. For me, I've already said like catcher's a dumpster fire really for me. Like there's Drake Baldwin, but he's expensive on this slate. So I did mention Francisco Alvarez. I'm probably going to stick with that as my guy. Otherwise, Yainer Diaz, somebody that I've been playing far more recently, even though he's never in the lineup when I really want him to be. First base, like Wilson Contreras. Perkins has given up a little bit more power to right-handed bats. And I think, at least last year, I haven't looked at updated numbers this year. I think that Sacramento plays better for right-handed power than left-handed power. So Wilson Contreras, and obviously mention it every single time we do a show, like perpetually just an OPS around 1,000 every single week. Anybody off the radar? Like I don't really have like first base is kind of one that I don't necessarily love tonight either. Nathaniel Lowe maybe. Um, Second base, it's probably Turang. You mentioned him. Um, it's really the only one I feel decent about. Arise just because he puts the ball in play. DK, you do have Caleb Durbin available at second base now, which probably helps. Um, Third base, it's going to be Paredes for my Houston love overall. Shortstop, it's going to be Jeremy Pena. Arguably the hottest hitter in all of baseball right now is Jeremy Pena. And obviously, you don't want to ignore Ellie De La Cruz if that game is fine to go. Outfield PCA's had success left on left against Libertor. So, like, he's one that I think could, even though we have him at 14.5%, it kind of depends because I think a lot of lineups you're stuck choosing one of PCA or Jordan, because if you're using Chase Burns, it's going to limit some of your salary available. I mentioned Luis Lara. I hope he's in the lineup. Tyrone Taylor, another one. And that's probably it. Like, overall, I don't feel the greatest about hitters tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like Jordan Walker works. Michael Harris, maybe. I kind of not want to play Ronald Acuna, even though I'm probably going to have to. But yeah, so overall, like to me, I don't necessarily love it. The more that I looked at the slate, the less I was enjoying it this afternoon.
Yeah.
How about you give out some dongs and then we'll get out of here, or I'll give my closing spiel and then we'll get out of here. FanDuel starts in 45 minutes.
Yeah. I do like a few Yankees. I like Rice, Chisholm, Goldie. I really like Luis Garcia Jr., Lindor, Baldwin, and Jordan Walker. That's probably my main list. Schwarber. And if there's, let me see if they get a oddball or one. Well, I guess my oddball one would be Brandon Marsh. Since that was like 800.
Couple updates weather-wise. Cincinnati is now a high delay risk if they start the game on time. 20 to 30% PPD risk, according to our weather guy at dfsarmy. But also that means 70 to 80% they play. We're probably going to need to wait another half an hour before we make a decision. Hopefully they announce a delayed start. I think we probably become in a better situation. But again, we just need as many updates as we can get over the next hour, really, before we decide. But that does make it a little scary for Chase Burns. The White Sox delay risk, low end PPD concern. Like if the White Sox start delayed, I'm guessing it's because they're just trying to clean up the field.
Yeah.
Right? We already talked about it. I would think like they're not going to delay into a PPD. Like I would think the PPD get announced before the game started. But obviously need to pay attention to that. Don't take these words as final gospel because things obviously change over the next hour or so. For those of you that are members of DFS Army, hit us up in Discord with questions. Tag us with screenshots of your winnings tonight. Those that are not, why are you not with us? Scrolling at the bottom of the screen is our best promo code. Best Ball 2026 gets you 20% off any DFS Army NFL or VIP Core 4 subscription. The Core 4 does include baseball. If you want to join us for just baseball only, code RAZ or Tattoo gets you 10% off monthly. You want to check out some of the merch we have, hit up one of us. We'll get you a link to the merch store. I think I need more sweatshirts sold, so maybe need to start pushing that again more going into NFL season too. Got to get those out there. We're back. What's that?
As we got the pre-lock clock.
Right. I need to get one of those for NFL season, but if I order now, maybe I'll have it in time.
Trey ordered and got his pretty quick.
But also, like, I kind of need them to actually send the right size too. That's, that's kind of an important thing. But yeah, check that out. We're back tomorrow, roughly 23 hours from now. Traditional Tuesday type slate, so it's probably going to be 10 to 12 games. I haven't looked yet, but I assume that's generally the case on a Tuesday. Maybe we get 14. I don't know, but it does seem like there's a lot of East Coast or Midwest series. So who knows? Any other questions, hit us up in Discord. We'll try to do our best to help out this evening. As always, best of luck, everybody, and helmets up, and we will catch you tomorrow.
Got the best coaches in the game. We really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block. Helmets casket is top. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision. We got too many. Tick your check. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, regroup. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just dropped. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted.